Hello there, welcome to lesson number 4 in our series on using FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create Objet. In this lesson we're going to show you how you can create a slightly unusual object using a skin modifier. So if you start FluidDesigner up, first of all we need to go to Learning Projects Objet. We're doing lesson number 04, so you can drag and drop that onto the workspace, and I'll just switch on the screencast keys. So we're going to reproduce this object here using a skin modifier. So if I just go view and top, so this object up here, there are a number of templates, 3D template skin modifiers already built into FluidDesigner for you to drag and drop onto the workspace. So you can make a copy of this from one of the templates up here. What you should notice about it, if I just press the tab key on the keyboard and go into edit mode and just zoom in, you'll see that the diameter of this is 4 millimeters. Okay, so there are skin modifiers here with different cross sections, and so there is one with a 4 millimeter cross section. So that is something to take into account. Now around the outside and also in the center of this object there are control points, and those control points can be manipulated by entering values here for X, Y and Z, and you can also change the radius. The radius is currently 2 millimeters up, 2 millimeters down, so the radius of X is 2. That's what gives us the 4 millimeters, so you can do that in the transform panel here. We're not going to do it that way, however. We're going to use the snap feature in FluidDesigner. So if I switch on the snap feature and switch on increment, okay, if I just move this out here now, it will just snap to the next grid. But if I do that, there isn't a control point here where I started. But if I select this control point and if I press E on the keyboard and extrude it, then what I get is a control point in the original location and a new control point out here. So I'm going to do the same all the way around this object with that. So E to extrude, and I've now got 2 control points. E to extrude, and I've now got 2 control points. E to extrude, and I've now got 2 control points. Now if we look at the finished object, if we look at this arm here for instance, there's a couple of bits sticking out at the end of this arm. So if I select that end point there and press E to extrude and go up, and select the control point again and E to extrude and go down, okay, so you can see I've added this bit on at the end here. That looks a bit weird, but well, yeah, it looks more than a bit weird, but anyway, let's keep going and see what happens. Let's view this from the top again. Now this one, what we're going to do is we're going to extrude it from that point there and extrude it from that point there, and the same at the bottom. Extrude it from the middle point and extrude it, and then this arm we're going to extrude it from the end point and again extrude it from the end point. Yep, okay, yeah, now that's looking okay now. Alright, so what we've done, when we've actually finished doing that, and you know, obviously you can go on and on and on extruding, and also not just extruding, you can manipulate these and move them around to different locations, as well as extruding. Once you've got a pattern that you're happy with, you can come out of edit mode by pressing the tab key on the keyboard. And if I just delete the original object now, this object has in fact got a modifier applied to it. So if we go to the modifiers icon, it has got a skin modifier applied to it. I've done that for you, and it is available already in the 3D templates folder. But there's a modifier applied here. But if we look at the object closely, you can see it's not actually very smooth. It's a square section. So if we wanted to smooth this off a little bit and change the appearance again, we could add another modifier called a SubSurf modifier. And as you can see, that rounds it off. And if we change this view value here, it will round it off even more and more. And so you can get quite an interesting appearance of the surface. So rather than having a square cross section, this is now more circular. Now the downside of doing this is the file size goes up a lot, but the upside is the appearance. There are only 9,000 faces on this object, so it's not too dramatic. Okay, now if we now what we now need to do is to confirm this skin modifier and the SubSurf. Well, actually, before I we need to confirm that. So if we go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh, if we then go to wireframe mode and zoom in, you can see this object is actually quite complicated. So although we only pulled it a couple of times, the skin modifier does in fact make lots and lots of segments in this. So we only pulled it out 1 centimeter, but the skin modifier puts in all of these edges and all of these faces and makes the whole thing quite complicated, in fact. So I'll go back to normal material mode now. So what we want to do is to save this. So go to File, and as usual in FluidDesigner, go to Save As. Go up through the menu system. You need to look for My Projects, Objet d'Art, and you can save lesson 04 Skin Modifier 2D. Save that as a Blender file. Let's then export it to the desktop as a wavefront object. This is the printable file format. So it's 04 Skin Modifier 2D object file. And then if we go to NetFab Basic and import that, go to Project and Open. Go to the desktop and open 04 Skin Modifier 2D. Okay, there's no warning red triangles or anything like that at the moment, but we would always recommend you go to Extras and repair the part. And NetFab will triangulate it. So if we click on Update here, so you can see, yeah, we've got no issues with this. We've got no border edge, orientation or holes, but just run the repair anyway to triangulate it and apply the repair and remove the old part. Okay, so it's not a fantastic object, this. It's just a simple explanation as to how you can extrude using the skin modifier. So if we save this now, part export, and export it as a wavefront object to the desktop, NetFab will just add the text repaired there, and that's your printable file. Now if you go on the internet, and if you go to Google, and if you Google Blender, Blender is the engine behind the FluidDesigner interface. If you go to Blender Skin Modifier, these are some of the things that people who use Blender create using the skin modifier. So you can see people are more into animation, and that's really what Blender's about, which is why we use the simplified version of Blender, FluidDesigner, for 3D printing. So all these objects that you can see here, say you just Google Blender Skin Modifier, you'll see what the skin modifier can be used for. So this object here, you can see the lines on the inside. Okay, so it's been extruded and extruded and extruded in all these directions. I'm afraid I'm not quite up to the job of doing this sort of thing. I'm just interested in 3D printing, not animation. So that's just to show you what the skin modifier can be used to create. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson. Thank you.